In 1950, it all began. Built on family, forged in hard work, and driven by a commitment to innovation. The world has changed. The industry has transformed. But through it all, some things never wavered. Our promise, our passion, our people. 3 generations, a legacy of trust. 75 years in the making. But we're just getting started.
My father started the business in 1950. It was certainly a whole different situation back then. It was him and another fella. The business was a small residential, light commercial furnace and air conditioning company.
It was on the corner of Grovewood and 156th Street. It was a 2-story building.
He started in converting old coal furnaces. Most people had coal furnaces, and he converted those to gas. He also sponsored an early baseball team that I played on, that Bruce also played on.
Right from the beginning, my dad would tell us, go out and do the job as if you're doing it for yourself, your own house. You don't take, shortcuts. You don't skimp on something. We'd rather walk away from the job than do it wrong or do it a way that we thought wasn't proper.
The marketplace changed over the years as technology and equipment evolved, and we became more of a residential furnace company and air conditioning company.
We would load up the truck in the morning and go rip out an old gravity furnace, coal furnace, and put in a new one. Tim or Tom would measure up the ductwork, run back to the shop, make it up, bring it back, while Ted and I are doing electrical or what have you.
We all had different roles on those jobs.
The end of the day came normally on a residential job when the job was back online.
S-straps and drives were folded by hand. Turning vanes were made by a hand crank. It was a joke for a long time that we were bedrock mechanical because everything was done by hand.
We would have to drill a gas line into the basement because we were running new gas to these homes.
Or how about when you drilled the hole and you looked through the hole and you saw piano legs
that was on
the first floor?
Out of 500 holes I made, only one time.
Must have got a figure wrong, a 1 or something, and I drilled a hole and I saw somebody walk by and I'm thinking, what? How can you be walking on the ceiling? That's impossible. I think, oh, this is not good. I drilled a hole right through the house into the living room or dining room, like, oh boy. Then you got to tell the guys, they're not going to take it easy on you. You can't just glue it up and say it. I don't know how that happened.
Originally, I had a phone. Battery weighed about 15 pounds. Hook up an antenna that was up on the roof. I called back and said, I'm not sure how this is working. And he would tell me, stay there and figure it out.
He never held any of us back. So if we decided that we wanted to try something, he was all in for it. There came a time when he understood that for us to survive and stay together as a company, things were going to have to change. A lot of challenging times for my dad and for the company.
I do remember, and it was before my time, where they came and locked the shop doors because it was going to go under because they couldn't pay either the property tax or income tax or payroll tax, one of the taxes, or all of them, who knows. But times were real slim and they had a lock on it.
He was able to sell a job called Shaker Lakes Apartments.
Shaker Lakes Apartments had saved the company, actually.
It was very exciting.
Well, the one building took 80 furnaces, 80 gas-fired furnaces.
At the time, we had 3 other sheet metal workers that were older than us. What Tim would lay out and cut by hand just wasn't feasible anymore.
And the big thing is, on these bigger jobs, they don't pay in a week. It's not like you get payroll in a week or you get your paycheck in a week. It takes months for them to give you your draw. You got to pay the banks because you're borrowing money. I never thought about that stuff. Found out that just because we got the job doesn't mean you're making money on that project. Can we do this? What happens if we don't do it right? It wouldn't take much to go back and put us under again, right? And we got to get this right or we're in big trouble, and there was a lot of sleepless nights from everybody, I think. You don't sleep at night sometimes thinking about what's going to happen down the line.
And that was a true test. When you know you're losing a lot of money and you still have the integrity to do it right. And I can remember sitting down with my dad and explaining to him, I said, I don't know if this company can support all of us the way we expect it to.
And that was a really tough conversation to have with him because he was certainly doing all he could. It wasn't going to be able to support all of us unless we had some serious growth going on.
And then the big break came when we started to do our big job downtown Cleveland.
When that happened, everything started changing for us.
Not from Cleveland, those Trimble Towers, the first picture you see, it was like night and day. I'm sitting in somebody's backyard at lunchtime, and then the next day you wake up and you are sitting down at Tower City amongst a bunch of union workers, hundreds of worker unions.
One of the cool things there, I was on a school field trip, and I remember going down there with my classmates, and then I saw my dad and Tony Spien and some other people from Geauga Mechanical down there actually save seats for our class so we could eat in the food court. But then to be down there in this giant place with all these people and to see that they were working in there, that was pretty awesome, because that was really one of the first times I actually saw a job in the field, and it was a really big one, a really cool thing at the time.
We're used to doing a $100,000 project or a $150,000 project. We have $1 million project on the books. Now what are we going to do?
We went down and started putting in air conditioners out on the different levels of roofs. So my dad would have to call the union hall, tell them that I was going to be out on the job. I had to stay on the floor. I had to hand the guys tools, clean out.
After that, quite a few hit, and we were better prepared for them. The Euclid Library and then the John Carroll Administration building.
And I sat down in a qualification waiting for that job with a local engineer.
And the fellow that was running the meeting wanted to go around the table to just get comments. It got to the end, the design engineer on the project, and he was directly across the table from me. He goes, I just have one comment. I don't think Geauga Mechanical is qualified to do this project. I just looked at the fellow that we were going to be working for, and I said, I think the way this payment schedule works is until we perform work, we're not getting paid for it. I can promise everybody in this room that we're going to do what we say we're going to do.
They'd have a set of drawings waiting for me on my desk. So I would grab the set of drawings, and I had a set of highlighters, and I would take that home. I'd pull the coffee table up close to me. A 1/2-inch pipe, it was the pink highlighter. If I had 3/4, it was yellow. 1 inch, it was blue, and I had that for all the different things.
So I would go to school, and people would say, what does your dad do? And I would go, well, he colors. As a kid, I thought everybody carpooled with their grandfather and everybody colored for a living. So I was way off, but that's just what I saw. That's all I knew.
Just part of life, for I think a lot of us. Our whole family worked in the business, so that's where my dad worked, that's where my uncles worked, that's where my grandpa worked.
20 years ago when I was walking around the Willoughby Hills shop, it was as big as this room, and they were cutting metal by hand, producing a couple 100 pounds of sheet metal a day.
Our first piece of equipment that we bought that had computer technology built in it was our plasma cutter.
That was purchased and installed in the Chardon Road location in Willoughby Hills.
A couple of problems. We didn't really have enough room. We weren't computer savvy at the time to set up this equipment, and although the manufacturer came out and helped us somewhat, as soon as he walked out of that door, we were in big trouble. But we were also lucky because it was summertime. Craig was a sophomore in high school. He spent a good part of his summer helping us get that machine up and keeping it running.
They would lay out everything by hand, they'd measure it, cut it out, draw it with a marker, cut it out. And then I'm in like 6th grade and just hitting a button on this machine and doing it 15 minutes. So it would take them half a day to do. They always gave me a hard time about that. But yeah, that was the new technology.
He was one of those generations that was not afraid of any of that stuff. It made a huge difference in our business because we realized it was something we had to do from that point going forward.
We got a project downtown. It was the Bingham Building.
It was our first 7-figure contract that we got at the time.
The game plan was to have all exposed spiral, industrial kind of stuff.
In that particular project, there was going to be miles of spiral duct necessary.
When you purchase it from somebody, it always comes in 10-footers. It was going to be a nightmare to cut a 6-foot piece, stack that 4-footer somewhere else because you might need it on the next floor up or the other end of the building. So the fellas looked into a spiral machine. Then we determined that it wasn't going to fit in our old location.
Didn't have room for it. That's why we moved out here.
That's how we ended up out here in Chardon.
After everybody went home, we would take the box truck and we would manually move everything from Willoughby Hills to here. And that would go from like 5 o'clock till about 3 in the morning. We would just be doing trips back and forth. We'd find the 24-hour McDonald's. And then I had to wake up for like basketball camp in the morning and I'd be dragging. That's the first time I got to see every piece part of Geauga Mechanical because I was physically putting stuff in boxes. We were loading them in a box truck and then bringing them out to here and leaving them here in the morning. Then the guys would show up for work in the morning and start reorganizing here at the new locations. That's one of my first memories of being an actual worker at Geauga Mechanical, and it was great. A standard 8-hour shift in the fabrication shop just was not going to cut it for this project. It was just a ton of apartments. We couldn't say, we can't keep up with the demand of the schedule because that's going to be our last project with that customer.
Without that happening, we're not doing what we're doing right now.
We were rocking and rolling back there, and I was doing fabricating, and I loved it. I was physically fit 16-year-old, so I could, there was no getting worn out by the end of the day. If I tried to do even a quarter of that now, I'd fall flat.
And I've seen it in the past with other companies that have been very, very successful over the years, where the second and third generation, for some reason, there's a sense of entitlement and they're not engaged the way I think our team is.
He made it very clear that working here was not going to be a guarantee. I had to be worth whatever they were bringing me in to do.
And I think my expectations on occasion might have been high, but they've met all of them. I think we all feel the same confidence level that our life's work is in good hands.
We've never really just said, okay, we got to figure out this is how we're going to do things going forward. It's always been, how do we get better? How do we take advantage of new technology? I think I've always kind of felt that way personally, but I do think it came from the generation before me. And my grandfather, he always enabled the second generation to try new things and try to grow the company and do things in a creative way. So I think that's just been part of the company culture.
The first project that kind of established us as a coordinating leader was the East Bank of the Flats. We led the charge with coordinating with other trades. We're not just sending out a bunch of material for the guys to run a giant 40-foot line of duct anymore. We're designing these pods that have to connect to each other exactly in the right spot. 90% of what I used when I started designing is gone. It used to be paper drawings. Everything was kind of just locked into a 2D plane. Each floor had its own drawing. But it's much easier to collaborate when you have this large thing that everybody can have eyes on at the same time. So that's why we now spend so much time and energy to recreate these buildings in virtual space completely before anybody's on the ground.
It saves time, it saves money, and it's easier to have everything figured out before you start putting it up in the air.
If this is going to make our projects better, be able to bring some more stuff to these jobs and to our customers, we're happy to do it.
That process really helped us change from a plan and spec or bid type contractor to a more negotiated type situation.
It went well, and that's set a lot of relationships up for even who we work with currently.
A big part of our service growth has been turning those jobs that we did on the construction side into service agreements and long-term customers, which has been great.
And that was our first real experience with 300 plus apartments, and people are moving in, and every single problem that arises with someone's air conditioner, we need to be Johnny on the spot, ready to fix it. So back in those days, we had a core group of guys that made a lot of sacrifices towards getting us to where we are today.
I can remember we all could fit for our morning meeting in the lunchroom area, so that we've grown considerably in that manner too.
And evolving this legacy that my grandpa started into something different, but something that everybody is still super proud of. The industry itself is changing a lot, the world's changing a lot, and we always seem to be at that front of change.
We're certainly not sitting here at 75 years talking about how we've gotten here and where we're going in the future without the people. The people we have here are incredible.
There's some new faces, but there's been people I've known since I started here 20 years ago. It's just been great to watch it grow and see all the new positions and everything we're incorporating to make it even better.
We all get along good. We all known each other a very long time. We all have similar mentalities.
And great folks. Your people set you apart from everything else. We've had great folks at Geauga Mechanical.
We have really, really great people working for us. We couldn't possibly be where we are without the folks that we have with us. We've hired character.
We want people that care about not just their jobs, but the people in this building.
There's an investment in the people that you hire, and you feel that same desire to invest in the company itself because how you're treated, because of the values that they project. And each person, their role, their input, and their contribution is extremely important to the success of the business as a whole.
When you have that team approach, they treat your customer right. And that's what builds those relationships that we have to rely on going forward if we're going to be successful.
Treat people the way you want to be treated. I think we try to be respectful and responsive and treat our customers the way we want to be treated when we're customers.
We're a giant team. We're a family. I mean, most of that stuff sounds all cliche, but it truly is the fact of life for Geauga Mechanical.
If we can continue to maintain that mindset of treating people the right way, doing things the right way, I think the company is going to continue to be successful into the future.
The future for Geauga Mechanical, I think Geauga Mechanical is going to be around for a while.
A lot of smart people here. There's a lot of smart technology here, and for us to be embracing that technology and be ready to use it going forward is going to be a great thing for us.
I think we're set up very well to go into the future, and I think since we've always been on the forefront of technology, I think we're even better suited for the next several years.
We're doing bigger and better work than we've ever done before. And so I personally think the outlook and the future Geauga Mechanical, I could have never dreamed it could be so bright.
The 75 anniversary thing has forced me to reflect more than I usually do. And it really is amazing thinking about how it started to where it is now. It makes you feel good. Yeah, it's awesome.
Only a small fraction of American businesses ever reach 75 years. Geauga Mechanical has.
I see the players there every morning, and they're in it to win it.
Through good times.
And what great friends I've made just because of the workplace here.
Through hard times.
You know, we all pulled it together, and this is not going to beat us. And, you know, Geauga Mechanical is going to live on, and we're going to do what we need to do.
And now as we look to the future, through the times ahead.
Every job, we do the best we can to make it a good experience and do things the right way so we can continue to get those opportunities.
Guided by that same openness to progress that brought us here.
I think it would have been easier for my dad to say, you guys, you got a job to do. Go out there and do it. But he gave us the ability to try something new, and we all grew from it.
Thank you for being part of 75 remarkable years of Geauga Mechanical.